Welcome to my channel, and in this video I decided to include my books by Marty Noble. I have several of them, some were printed in Creative Heaven series, and I also have this beautiful gemstone among all the books of my collection. I'm very grateful that in the very beginning of my hobby, when I just discovered for myself coloring YouTube and also book depository with international delivery, I am grateful to someone who published flip through of this beautiful book, and of course I immediately fall in love, and it was one of my first purchases from book depository. And I know that now it's absolutely impossible to get this book. I don't know why, if Marty Noble still creates book for Creative Heaven, why it's not possible somehow to adjust copyrights and to recreate this beauty. It's beyond my understanding. So let's have a look at what I did in this book and in my other books by Marty. The only thing I wanted to mention is that usually not everyone knows that Marty Noble is a woman. She is beautiful. I already published a video in my series What Inspires Me. She is beautiful herself. She creates beautiful paintings, so both her line art and full color works, they are absolutely amazing. Maybe let's start from the last pages because it's easier for me to flip in such a way. This book is one-sided, and paper it's quite original. I wouldn't say that I have similar paper in my other books. It's cream, and also not all the pencils work very well here. When I just had color softs, it was a nightmare. Then when I started to use Prismacolors, it was a little bit easier, but still Prismacolors, they slipped a little bit on this paper. Maybe it wasn't enough tools, and also it was quite difficult to accurately color all those intricate details which Marty Noble usually add. And in this college book there are plenty of tiny elements on pages. But when I discovered that polychromos work really well on this paper, all my problems were resolved. And quite nice that we will start from a winter picture. It was one of my last made here. Unfortunately, during this whole year I hadn't touched this one. I don't know why. As usual, it's a lack of time for all my books, and as usual, I tend to color in the books which are more suitable to make color long videos that people can follow, and this book is quite rare. But of course I plan to return to it because many designs, almost all, I want to do here. I really love the idea of collages. I love that we can color in small elements and to have completed elements. Also, it's never boring because we have many different things to color. And also pictures here, they have various subjects. We have more um, Victorian or vintage style pictures. We have several steampunk designs which corresponds with other steampunk designs by Marty Noble. We have many references to Alphonse Mucha paintings, which I always also love. We have country design in Provence style. We have Asian style designs. So really nice pictures. You never will be boring if you color in this book. Here I struggled a lot because here I used color softs and Prismacolors. I also even tried to use some felt tip pens for the tiny details where it was quite complicated to color all the flowers. Well, definitely not the best one, but at least I colored it. This one I definitely love. I did it, I think, 2 years ago for the mermaid, and I think that most of all I love that it's in a relatively limited color palette. I do love how I did this line with fishes, and I do love this peach and sand color which I selected for the shells. Maybe for the mermaid herself I had to use slightly different colors, maybe more greenish, but I decided to use just darker shades of the same colors which I already used, and I still think that maybe because of her dark hair she is not lost, and I do love this page. I wouldn't change it. The next one is this very colorful page, and it's quite old. I think that it's a mix of color softs and Prismacolors, probably. I think so. And here I really love the composition of the page, that we have a couple of scenes, then very adorable elements. We have cats. I do love the tiles here which create some frame, so it's quite nice, and I even colored similar page with a similar rooster. It will be some fare forward. This one I decided to color probably 4 years or 3 years ago for St. Patrick's Day, and I was really interested in doing this very light background using Prismacolor pencils, various shades of beige and gray colors. I wanted to create impression of the carved stone. You can see that the background is more beige on those beautiful Celt crosses. I used colder shades of gray, so I think that I managed to do quite interesting background. The angel in the middle, well, it's not bad, and I think that those leaves, they definitely are in the color of St. Patrick's Day, so that's why I initially selected this page. Here I used Prismacolors, which you can clearly see from intense purple and blue colors, quite recognizable from Prismacolor set, but I also used some metal acrylics for the background. I wanted to recreate impression of the famous Asian furniture, when they do furniture from beautiful wood and then put miniatures, incrustations from gemstones or from pearl to create such scenes. So that's where I got my inspiration, from the wooden surface for the background, wood with gold or wood with bronze, and then I tried to do these miniatures in Asian style. Well, it was interesting. It's an old work, but still I think that it's quite pleasant to look at. Here I colored similar rooster, similar to the previous one, and I again enjoyed it. Here, in the beginning I didn't like the frame which I colored. I was thinking that maybe I will do this frame like carved wood, because it's in Provence style, especially the style with rooster, and carved wood also can be used in Provence style decoration of the kitchen. Then I thought that maybe it's not the best combination of various browns on the basket and on the background, but now when I look at it I think that it's quite nice. Of course, most of all I was interested in coloring various pansies, apart from traditional violet, which I of course colored previously on other pictures. Here I decided to play a little bit more with colors, and I do love that I added this more reddish or like wine red color with bright yellow center, and I do love how I did this gradient using a lot of white Prismacolor pencil and a lilac color, so they look quite tender, and I think that in such baskets they together look quite well. Not sure about this dark butterfly, but maybe because of the dark color she matches the color of the pencils. Where is the next one? Yeah, I think that's it, that I hadn't missed anything. Yeah. So this one definitely is in Alphonse Mucha style, especially the girl, and of course I had to color her hair in Mucha favorite orange reddish tint, so she is a redhead. Here I mostly used Prismacolors. You can clearly see from pastel colors on the background and on the fuchsia flowers. Maybe I had to use a lesser amount of color here on the fans, but what can I say? Sometimes it's really difficult to calculate on such a detailed page. At least the lady, she is not lost because of the yellow background which I did for her. So I do love this one. Here I discovered for the first time how well polychromos pencils behave. I started to color here with Prismacolors. I wasn't happy at all, and then I decided to test polychromos, and I was absolutely happy. Much better coverage of the paper, more smooth blending. So now if I need to color in this book, I mostly use polychromos, and only if I need something pastel, something very light, then of course I can add Prismacolor like I did here for the blue. But it was fun here. I think that here we have packages from the various flower seeds, and we also have butterflies. Easy and nice picture. Here I don't mind, as even if we have slightly illogical collages, like we have boot here, not very logical, but in the books like mythographic, when we have also strange collages of objects, there I totally dislike such idea. The next one is this spring collage, Prismacolors only. I think that you can clearly see that pale sage and jade green, they are kings of this page, and of course various pinks and blue. I tried to find objects which I can color in matching colors, so to repeat color. I don't know, roses here, maybe I outlined them too much with white, but at least everything looks really very tender because of the many pink flowers. I hope that I managed to create this spring atmosphere. This one, it's also one of my first works here, where when I experimented, the background is black and metal gold pencils, but in real life it's not very shiny. But everything else I do love. Maybe I had to work a little bit better to use slightly more contrast colors on this adorable small landscape in Japanese, probably Japanese style, not Chinese. And of course I used a very traditional color combo for the fans with koi fishes, so definitely fans here are the focal points, and everything else they are secondary adorable details. And finally, this page which I did I think couple of years ago, and it was during hot summer, so that's why I have used also a lot of warm colors, again inspired by Alphonse Mucha portraits, and everything apart from the background where I used couple of prisms is also colored with polychromos pencils. Here with polychromos I even started to do slightly better shading on her portraits, because with Prismacolors and on this paper they glided too much, so shading was much more difficult, and with polychromos this problem definitely was resolved. Well guys, let's continue to hope that one day this book will be republished and everyone can enjoy beautiful art of Marty Noble. Now I will adjust my camera and we will watch my Creative Heaven books by Marty. Let's start with Steampunk Designs, which is also one of my first books. I think that I purchased it almost together with the collage art, but it was laying untouched for couple of years. I don't know why. I enjoyed line art, but I had no idea how to color it. Maybe I wasn't confident in my skills how to color metal and fabric, and you know that if we speak about steampunk style, on such pictures, on such illustrations, we definitely will have a lot of metal and you need to know how to color steel, bronze, gold. So I tried to practice first. And then finally I started to color and I did couple of pages, but just two of them. The first was this portrait of a couple, which even then was quite risky for me. You know that I'm not a big lover of coloring big portraits, but here I think that I managed to do something not that bad. When I think about steampunk style, I always think about more muted, not very bright colors. A lot of brown, a lot of green, of course gray, black, intense violet, probably intense blue. And if we speak about red, it also have to be more dull wine red. So we can say that color palette is relatively limited. I saw several pictures from this book from other people. They were colored in, I don't know, pink colors, but I can't imagine something like this. So I envy people who can color steampunk in more bright, cheerful colors, but for me it's much more about dark and dull colors. With this portrait, I think that I managed to represent atmosphere of steampunk. I do love details here, all their metal parts which they have on their heads and as a jewelry. Traditionally, of course, if she has green dress, the best match is again to use more reddish brown for her hair, and I think that it helped to attract attention to her face. I do love their heads, probably the most interesting part here to color. Then we have these glasses with bright golden details, metal details, and some leather parts. After this one, I realized that I actually can color here, but the most careful thing is to select colors. And almost immediately I started to do this gentleman. Very quickly I did the clothes of him. This time I decided that I will use this intense blue as the focal point, that it will help me to attract attention to the man against the very detailed background, and that this blue it will look quite nice with the leather color which she has on his suit. When I colored him, I was maybe a little bit tired of steampunk picture. I don't know, but I abandoned it for more than a year, and only recently, several months ago, I finally finished all those details on the background. Maybe I didn't like that I couldn't understand clearly what we have here, what kind of the aircraft or some other thing made from metal. But I think that in the end, mostly because of the usage of the bright green, which I used here on this sacred weapon, then a little bit on his glasses and also on this mechanical bird, it helped to attract attention to the most important details on this page, and in such way, even with such detailed background, the main characters they are not lost. And you know, currently I started to read more of steampunk fantasy, like China Mieville books, and of course, when you read such books, you want to color also something inspiring. So I have big hopes that during next months I definitely will color something here. I will try to experiment more with colors. This book can be very nicely colored with alcohol based markers. It's one-sided and paper is good for markers, so maybe this will be the way how I will try to continue coloring here. The next one isn't as fortunate. It's Art Nouveau designs and everything here based on the works of Alphonse Mucha, but even in the beginning, and it's quite old book, I was a little bit confused with the very thick black lines. Yes, here they match the style because many of these original artworks they were made like posters or sometimes like stained glass windows, so we can uh, understand why we have such a thick black lines, but sometimes, especially on the hair, they were bothering me. I did just one page here. Here it definitely was bothering me. Thick black lines on the flowers, on the birds, not very easy to color, especially when I got the book and when I was absolutely not experienced in adult coloring. But here I used my limited amount of Copic markers which I owned in the very beginning of my hobby, and I think that I managed to do not a bad work. She is quite nice. Her skin I did with pencils and the rest with alcohol based markers. But now I have much better book, uh, with much more beautiful and delicately made line art. They transformed Alphonse Mucha paintings into line art with much more fineness. So, and paper also is quite good, so I don't know how to proceed coloring here, but maybe one day we will see. Here I have Art Nouveau animal designs. For now I did here just one page when I tested my uh, Black Widow Monarch and my Mitsubishi Uno pencils. Best sets weren't the best choice for this paper, definitely. Here probably you need to use slightly softer pencils. With Sucolor or with Arteza I was able to get much better results. But anyway, experiment wasn't bad, and page, it looks again like stained glass window in Art Deco style, so I do love it. The thing which confused me a little bit about this book is how to color it. Do I need to transform these animals in more realistic, like doing real feathers, masking some black lines, or do I need to continue them in more art style so they will be more like ornaments, like stained glass windows, so I don't need to mask black lines and to color with many shadows, trying to do realistic texture. I simply need to decide for myself, and when I do it, this book will reappear more frequently on my channel. The next book dedicated to peacocks. I love to color peacocks, and Marty Noble does them in absolutely gorgeous way. In this book we have peacocks created in various styles. Again, some look more realistic, some look definitely like designs, and designs made more in European Art Nouveau style than more in from style which we can find on Indian um, paintings, on miniatures from India books. Some are more in Chinese style probably, so beautiful designs are gathered here. I tried to use various mediums. Here I tested my Black Widow Monarch pencils. You can see that not everywhere I managed to get very nice and smooth blending. They were a little bit scratchy, but some of the colors were definitely quite good choice for the peacock. Together with the gold, all those blue green, intense violet blue which we have in Monarch set, they look together really well. The next couple of pages I love a little bit more. I decided that here for quicker work I can do backgrounds with alcohol based markers again. This one I'm absolutely happy to do and how I did it because it has unusual background colors. Of course I was inspired by tapestries. I saw beautiful gallery of tapestries and I paid attention which colors they used for the backgrounds and which colors they can use for the fruits, for the vegetables for the leaves and other plants for the berries, and I tried to recreate some of the color combos which I noticed and which I loved. Still, for me to do such intense red background, it's a little bit unusual. My backgrounds, they vary frequently are more blue, green, and usually they are pastel colors. But here I think that for such a peacock, especially when I outlined his feathers with white, it was quite a right choice to do background in warm and bright colors. And finally, this peacock surrounded by beautiful camellias. I decided this time to work with intense indigo background. I was afraid a little bit that if I would use blue on the peacock, they will be messed up with the background, but then I darkened area around the peacock on top of the alcohol-based markers with simple black pencils. So shadows around started to be more intense, and peacock with lighter shades of blue and green started to pop up against the background much better. I do love this coral color of the camellias, so I think that this one definitely also is quite good work. And now let's talk about this series. I think that initially they were supposed like children book, but pictures here they are definitely worth any beautiful and quite serious adult coloring books. I do love all three books here. I have goddesses, I have mermaids, and I have wizards. At least in these books I already colored. I also have other book dedicated to tapestries, but I hadn't started it yet. And goddesses here probably my favorite. Yes, the book is unfortunately double-sided, but I realized that paper actually is definitely not bad. I do love that it has nice bright color and enough tools to be able to color with many pencils, both budget and professional. The only thing I do to take precautions, I know that I am heavy-handed, I tend to press hard, so when I color here, I simply put sturdy cardstock like this one I have beneath the page which I color to protect pictures which I already color or to protect the next page from damaging, and in such way it's totally possible to color here. I even tried to use paint here, but I wasn't happy, not because of the paper, simply because I think that style of these pictures doesn't require using any paint. So I do love the idea of this book, that we have goddesses from various uh, mythologies, various parts of the earth, and we have here a very short explanation about culture, about um, nature of the goddess, and I do love that usually they have animals which are traditional for them, other elements, many botanical elements, and also beautiful frames in the style of this culture, this mythology. What I managed to color here is the Freya from Norse mythology. I hope that you can see it. All colorings from this book are on my channel. I will put a link to the whole playlist in probably beneath the video and in the end of the video, because I think that they are quite nice and interesting to watch. When I discovered that polychromos can be used as main media with a little bit of Prismacolors again when I needed pastel colors, I realized that I won't have any problems with coloring here. It was quite fun to do these blue cats, because indeed she owned blue cats which were a gift from the god Thor. I really tried to follow all parts of the story about Freya here. The next I did this Egyptian spread. Here I used paint, but I spent as much time by outlining all those intricate designs as I would spend by simply covering the background with dark blue pencils. So in the end I decided that it wasn't worth it and that I completely can color these pages with pencils. Here again it's a mix of polychromacies because they have very nice muted red colors, ochre yellow colors which I used for the landscape behind the busted goddess, and Prismacolors helped me to do this stone background around the hieroglyphs. Never learned how to pronounce them correctly in English. Well, the second one is quite similar because again when I do Egyptian designs I also imagine that color palette have to be limited. They usually use a lot of turquoise blue, turquoise green colors, of course also golden colors and all those orange reddish color palette, so I tried to maintain it here. I think that here it's mix of Arteza and polychromacies. I do love her wings here. I was inspired by the jewelry which represent Isis and the jewelry from the Tutankhamun tomb. There was a jewelry and wings had exactly the same color combo and I decided to use it here. The next one is Mayan goddess, and I always was interested in South America Indian cultures, so of course I wanted to color her. And here we have couple of her representations. Sometimes she is a goddess of mothers and children, but sometimes she can has a darker side, so that's why she has also the snake on her head. I decided that I can do some fantasy flowers around her. I think that it's also not bad. The next one I absolutely love. This one is a white buffalo woman, and I think that the part which I was afraid to start to do, in the end I managed to do the best. The white buffalo, I think that they both look quite nice. Her dress, it's a little bit flat and simplified, but at least I tried to think about which colors I think can be traditional for the Native Americans, for their clothes, which probably were colored with some natural paints. And yeah, I based almost the whole painting on the Indian red from polychromos, and I decided that it will work very well with various shades of intense rich blue colors. I definitely love this one. Well, I think, oh no, definitely I have another one from Asian part of the world. Here we have Tibetan goddess. She is green Tara, so that's why I did her with green skin. Here I mostly concentrated on doing various golden parts. You know that in Asian temples you can find a lot of gold, a lot of golden decoration, and I wanted to show it here. Of course, pink to represent lotus flowers and clouds. I think that it's also quite good. At least for me, it was quite interesting to learn about her and then trying to show on this page some moments which I discovered when I tried to find info about this goddess. The next one is Mythical Mermaids. I think that recently it was republished in one-sided in Creative Heaven series. So if you want, you can find almost the same pictures but in different quality. But I do love my book and I didn't have problems when I colored a couple of pictures which I finished here. Both I made for mermaid. Here I used my Color pencils because they have quite interesting shades of grey violet, which I needed for the stormy sky. I did this gradient from black to dark grey and to the grey violet. I think that it really helped to create atmosphere of the stormy clouds, stormy sky. Against it I added a little bit of reddish to the ship, not because I didn't want to lose it here. And for the mermaid I used very traditional color combo. That's my problem. If I think about mermaid, this color combo probably is always my first choice, and only then I try to persuade myself that I already used it on many pictures and that I need to invent something new. But here for this mermaid from Warsaw, from Poland, I decided that it will match all the colors around. Here her armor, it also looks quite nice together with all those greens. I do love the statue of this mermaid which I saw in Poland, so I decided that I want to do this page also. The other one is in completely different color palette, because here we have tropical mermaid. It's a sad story because this girl, it was abandoned by her village. People envied her beauty, so they believed that she charmed men because of her beauty, and from such a sad life, being abandoned by her people, she slowly transformed into a mermaid. Well, sorry, I know that sometimes it sounds silly, but anyway, let's concentrate on the colors of this page. Of course, I was attracted by the tropical flowers. I do love these hibiscus flowers. I even tried to grow them myself. Unfortunately, there is not enough sun and not enough light on the balcony where I live in the flat, but still I hope that one day I will manage to grow them again. And unfortunately, I don't remember which pencils I used, but video is on my channel, and here on the background I also tried to mask with matching color of acrylic some of the black lines to do more realistic water. When I added a little bit of white, it started to look a little bit better. I do love this turtle, and I think that the only thing which slightly confused me here is the shape of her tail. Maybe here it has to have slightly different curve, but I tried to mask it by doing this area dark, where I have doubts regarding her tail, and to do butterfly on the foreground much brighter to mask this area. Anyway, I still love this one, and at least for the mermaid, for the next mermaid, I definitely will be coloring something here. Nice designs and quite easy to color. And finally I have Wizards, another very good book. Now I have two finished pictures here and one work in progress. Let's start from the garden wizard. And if he is garden wizard, of course I needed to use green for his coat. But I used muted olive green colors. I blended them with brown to create slightly more dirty and weathering look of the coat and fabric. I think that budget pencils like Colors, they are also very good choice here, so you don't have to think about worrying about spending more precious colors for the whole background. And I intend to use pencils like Colors here more, and Arteza also. As I said, paper is actually not bad, apart from double-sided pictures. Any problems at all with the quality of these books. And the second one is the Asian magician. I do love that he has dragon inside of the magical ball. I decided that wine red and gold, it's always a winning color combo, and that I can use it here to make folds on the fabric of his coat more prominent, more striking. I decided to add this violet tint to them, and that's why I also decided to use this color on the gemstone here. Quite nice work, and I enjoyed doing it. I added a little bit of paint to mask some of the lines on the leaves to direct much more attention to the figure of the magician. A lot of pictures I want to do here. Some are a little bit more simplified, but some are definitely worth attention of the experienced and beginner colorists. We have beautiful ladies wizards. They are not witches, they indeed are magicians and wizards, and the good thing is that we have many male characters. I hope to post my third work, which I started in this book but hadn't finished yet because of the Christmas pictures, but I hope that soon I will finish it and that I will post it on my channel. Well, I hope that you enjoyed my collection of Marty Noble books. Of course, it's not all, because I have several books which I hadn't touched yet. I have Wondrous Woman, I have book about fairy tales, and in fairy tales I did my first work, but I hadn't made video yet. So first I will do video with my first colored page, and then I will put it into a pile of started books, and my untouched books will be a little bit less. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next part.